Imagine you woke up today and you got your first YouTube lead, but just 3 weeks ago, you had no channel and were absolutely petrified to put yourself on camera. Well, that's exactly what happened to our guest today, Anthony Esposito. He's somebody that had no prior experience in front of the camera, absolutely terrified to just click record, but took action. And in today's video, he's going to break down how YouTube has completely catapulted his business, the exact strategies he uses, his entire content process from how he comes up with ideas, how he records, the equipment he uses, his editing process, thumbnails, but most importantly, the big mindset shift that he faced that turned him from terrified to being in front of the camera to clicking record to now doing it on a consistent weekly basis, breaking six figures and building massive momentum. And this again comes from an agent who started part-time, but he did it for his family. So this is going to be one that really gives you a little kick in order to get outside of your own head and start to take action, because I know so many people need to do it and you've been sitting on the fences, but today is the day that stops. So before getting started, two quick things. Number one, I will link Anthony's channel below so that you can check it out. It is a great example of just getting started, remembering that done is better than perfect. And I will link his calendar link below in case you would like to chat with him about getting his help to take your channel to a completely different level and start to generate leads consistently as well. So without further ado, let's dive into all things YouTube for realtors and show you the power of what video can do if you just click record. All right, Anthony, so super excited to have you here, man. And again, just seeing the momentum that you built pretty quickly since making the transition over here, you've got a lot to share. A lot that is going to resonate with a lot of people in the sense that the market this year is throwing people for a loop. There's a lot of people struggling with the ups and downs. There's a lot of people that understand the importance of getting on camera but are fearful to do so. And you've been able to kind of find your lane of getting over all of these different things. So, before we start diving into the tactical aspect of what you've done with YouTube, why don't you just give yourself a brief introduction, who you are, where you're from, what kind of got you to this point, and then we'll start to talk about the incredible success you've been having lately.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'd love to. Thanks for having me. So early age, kind of grew up fast. I lost my sister at 9. It kind of pushed me to want to help people in some way, some form. Went through high school, decided college wasn't for me, so becoming a lawyer or doctor to help people was kind of out at that point. And I, did the thing of let's take a year off of high school and see what I want to do. Well, that turned into a few years. So then I proceeded to look into what's always going to be around, not thinking of real estate at the time, even though I had a passion for homes, but didn't even think twice about it for a career. So I was looking at computers and looking at like electrical. So ultimately I ended up joining the electricians union out of Akron, Ohio, which digress, I'm born and raised in Brunswick, Ohio, Cleveland area. So I joined the Akron local and got into the construction field. Great career. I've done it for 15 years. It's been excellent for me. It's also done a lot of wear and tear on my body. But ultimately, I kept wanting to push back towards homes. Like I was always attracted to a house. And it wasn't until my wife and I were looking to purchase a house of our own when I had the agents we were working with. The one was a part-time agent, and he was like, man, you got a passion for homes. Like, why don't you think about doing like home inspector or something, or becoming a realtor? And I was like, well, I'm in a career of construction. I can't just like flip the switch. I'm the bread maker for my family. And he's like, oh, I do it part-time. I do tech. And I was like, really? He's like, you could do that part-time? He's like, absolutely. So literally the day after he told me that, I said, you know what? I just need to take the leap and jump in. I dove in, signed up for online classes because at the time we had one kid, second kid's on the way. And there was no way for me to do like in-person classes. So I did online classes and went all in. So I did that part-time for a few years, and it wasn't up until this past October when I finally decided to pull the trigger and join you guys from a past brokerage who was great, brick and mortar brokerage. They taught me a lot. I, have nothing negative to say about them at all. But I knew ultimately that I wanted to go to the modern style of real estate. And probably within the first 6 to 8 months of being licensed, I actually found you on YouTube trying to figure out how can I perfect social media? Like, what can I do to better myself? And I followed you for probably almost 3 years. And I was like doing everything you said. I got on video, which that was very awkward. The first time doing video, you're just like, what is going on? You're very stiff and everything else. So I followed you for a while, and I had it in the back of my mind, like, Mike's really onto something here. I kind of like what he's going with this. But I never switched to EXP from the brokerage I was at because, like, in all honesty, I just thought it was, almost like grass is greener on the other side. And it wasn't until I, pulled the trigger and said, I need to finally do something. I want out of construction. I want time, money, wealth, like you name it, freedom of every sort that I could think of. So I said, forget it. I'm going to sign up. Did the Zoom call with you. Ended up joining a couple months later when I got everything kind of situated, ready to go. I stopped working construction the same day that I joined EXP on October 27th and went full-time real estate. And I went, head first, and I have not looked back since. So it's been great. It's been an excellent ride. And, I'm 38 now, and here I am getting into a different full-time career that I absolutely love. And it doesn't feel like work at all.
That's incredible, man. There's so many things to unpack there, especially the fact that you started part-time, and we'll get into that in terms of your schedule, your routine, time management, things like that. But also talking about YouTube, that fear that everybody runs into, which is the fear of getting in front of the camera, super uncomfortable, super daunting, overwhelming. You've managed to get pretty quick results when it comes to YouTube. So we'll talk about the content that you've been putting out. But first, I would like to start with that and kick it off with what got you out of your own head to take action and just click record? Because that's the biggest thing that stops everybody is, that first video. Once you get the first video out, first couple of videos, you're pretty much good to go. But what was the catalyst to saying, I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off and do it?
It's funny because I started out doing shorts like Instagram Reels. I finally got onto TikTok, started doing that. And I kind of just took your advice actually and was like, okay, done is better than perfect. So let's just do this. And everybody, yourself included, has been saying it's going to take at least 20 videos to get rid of the awkwardness. So I just had the drive. I was like, I need to do this. Everything is going modern. Everybody's finding stuff on the internet, on social media. So if I'm not going to do that, I'm going to be left behind. And I'm not okay with that. Like I am going nonstop. Like the train is not slowing down at all. So I actually got started with doing the shorts to get comfortable on camera. And honestly, like YouTube's a beast. There is a lot involved. Anytime you even try to search, like, how do I start a YouTube channel? It's always doom and gloom. It is like the most difficult thing on the planet. You got to know, X, Y, Z. And it wasn't really until I joined you guys at the Wolfpack of getting in the proper mindset of, whatever the mind can achieve, it's going to do. Whatever you're going to put in your head, you are going to do it. So I was very adamant about that, and it was almost like I needed a sense of direction. I relate a lot of real estate to construction, where you can do really well with it. You can, learn a lot of stuff, but if you're not pointed in a direction, you're going to be lost. And it's very hands-on, like you be shown what to do, you go do it, you will get better and perfect it. So I kind of needed that push of, here's the steps to take, follow this blueprint, and you're going to succeed. So after I got my mindset set up, and then I kind of had like a blueprint of where to begin, how to do it, get my branding on point. That was a big one. And I just went all in and said, okay, here we go. It's going to be awful. I look back at my first video of just my introduction, my first couple now, and I'm only 3 months into this. And I'm like, those videos are awful. Oh my God, they suck. But I did it just because I knew this is the way the world is for real estate now. Everybody's first initial reaction to finding anything is on the internet. And of course, Google's the biggest search engine that's out there. Well, YouTube is Google. It's the same company. So I was like, I got to get on this. I'm just going to do it. And because I already did shorts, the fear of the camera wasn't there, but it was the fear of not knowing how to approach such a big platform when there's all like the naysayers, the doom and gloom type situation. And then you're laying it out completely different. Like, no, it's not all that bad. So that's kind of how I ended up doing it. And like I said, I just finished my 3rd month, and I was, 8 videos in, right? 8 videos in, and I got my first lead from YouTube. I woke up one morning with an email, and I'm like, who is this? Like, is this another spam? Because I get a lot of spam for like, I could, explode your YouTube channel. Yeah. And I opened it up and I was like, oh my God, no way. I was like, I can't believe this. And it's a relocation, buyer that are coming in, and, I established a great relationship. And that was just in the first 6 weeks, organic. I didn't pay 1 penny for it. And I've been using my phone to record these videos, which it's mind blowing to me. It really is. And it came off of videos that I look back now and say, those suck.
I love that, dude. I'm so proud of you. And I think it's really cool that you got started with short form, because I find short form, the expectation of quality is way lower. It's shorter form, so you can develop this skill set to get more familiar and comfortable in being in front of the camera. And I think that's such a great way to just dip your toes in the water a little bit, because a lot of people are hesitant to go straight into, oh my God, I have to record a 10-minute video. But if you could say, well, I could do 30 seconds, that's a really great way to just familiarize yourself with the camera and to just get started. Mm-hmm. And I think, as you touched on the fact that you're already only 3 months in and you're looking back at your first videos saying those are trash, that's a huge testament to your growth and how quickly you can see progress. Because a lot of people are hesitant to start because they think they're going to suck for the first year. But I'm 5 years into this, and every year I look back at my videos the year prior thinking they suck. But at the time, people thought they were good. And I think the only way you can start to build that momentum is to do something, because the only people that lose are the people that continue to do nothing. And the fact that you got started is a testament to your commitment. And I think, looking at the beautiful pictures behind you, I'm sure a lot of that drive comes from your why of your family, right? And being associated with
Absolutely.
That concept that, there's a fear of being in front of the camera, but there's also a bigger fear of not building the life for your family that you've ever dreamed of,
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, at the end of the day, those 3 kids that are back there, my wife, like, if I don't succeed, like, that's it. We're in trouble. So failure is not an option. So it's like, do I procrastinate and be afraid of what other people are going to think that I don't even know? Or do I just go out there, do me, not be concerned about what everybody else is saying, and just go at my pace, my flow, and worry about myself, my family, my business? And that's kind of the approach that I took to this, was I don't care. Like, on social media, there's other agents that, I follow, quote unquote follow, but I don't care what they're doing. I really don't, because at the end of the day, there's so many people that are out there. Everybody gets caught up in, oh, what is this person going to think of me? Or how come I'm not doing this great? Or what do I got to do to be like this person? And it's like, well, you're not that person. You are your own person. Yes, you can make, a great career out of this. Are you going to be like some of the unicorn agents that are out there that are going to be well known around? Maybe not. Maybe you will. But until you take that risk and just say, you know what, forget what everybody thinks. I'm going to do this for myself, my family, and just push and keep that drive going, put your head down and go. You'll never find out. And if you're not going to do it, you're not making it in this business. I mean, if you're not taking a risk, you're going to be left behind. You're going to be one of the 87% that disappear out of it. And it's it's just all about drive. Just put your head down, focus on you, and don't worry about what people are going to think, what people are going to say. Like, if they're commenting something bad, who cares? Like the comment and just walk away from it. Who cares? It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you're building your business. So yeah, definitely like family and all, and worrying about paying bills. That was a huge push to just say, you know what, I got to do this, or I might as well just go back to construction, break my back for the next 20 plus years. And by the time I retire, I'm going to be essentially like pushing myself in a wheelchair because my back and my knees are all banged up. And I was like, that's not a life for me. I want to retire and enjoy the last years of my life.
I love that, man. It's so true. And I think that's, another that leads to a beautiful conversation of the fact that you touched on the point that you're just using an iPhone. You just got started. And I would love for you to kind of say, or explain rather, what type of content are you putting out and how are you going about creating it? Because there's so many people out there that are saying, well, okay, I want to take action. I'm going to get started on YouTube, and wow, a lead within 6 weeks. Like, that's insane. What content were you putting out within those first 6 weeks that started to at least build some momentum? And now that you're 3 months into it and you've got a bit of experience under your belt, what have you seen has been working the best for you?
Oh man, that's a good one, because in the beginning, I was trying to find my niche on YouTube. And everybody thinks like, oh, well, your niche is real estate. Not necessarily. You could be really good at doing a community tour. You can be really good at giving tips on, selling or buying, any sort of that. You could be really good at property tours. You got to find your specific niche. So in the beginning, I was doing everything. Give me a community tour, property tours, tips, like you name it. I was just getting content out there just to start establishing myself on YouTube. And it was actually the cost of living for Cleveland, Ohio that brought in my first lead on YouTube, because they were relocating to this area and they saw that, wanting to know, okay, what can we expect? And that's what brought it in, was a cost of living video. But I've also done community tours. I've done stuff on suburbs. You name it, I've done everything. But now that I'm getting further in, I could actually see like my niche is kind of showing itself now, because the analytics are finally there. And it's looking like it is more like property tours and showing off suburbs of Cleveland is what has been kind of driving everything. I mean, you can only do so much cost of living for like the Cleveland area. So I'm going to continue doing those for different cities. But overall, it seems like the property tours and, going through those, everybody loves seeing a house. So it's very simple to just show off a house on YouTube and talk a little bit about it. And again, I'm just using my phone. It works perfect. It's it's 4K. I could get, better than that if I want to, but you don't have to. You only need 4K for YouTube. And the cameras on there are so good. It's like you don't need to have thousands of dollars of equipment to get started. Just go and do it. And when I was doing shorts, I was trying everything. I was throwing everything out there. It was one of those, like, just start throwing stuff at the window, see what's going to stick, and take it from there. But again, even on the shorts, property tours were huge. Talking about properties, even doing like a green screen and just doing the screen record, and like scrolling through off of my phone and putting that in a background for a green screen using CapCut. That was getting more views than anything else. It seemed like, the tips work great. A lot of people appreciate it, but ultimately for me, it was a lot of the showcasing suburbs and showcasing properties. So as I move further along, I'm going to do more of those to keep building the channel now that I found it. But yeah, absolutely. You kind of have to like do everything. It can be overwhelming, but you just got to do it. I'm never going to forget that quote that you've told me is done is better than perfect. I will never forget that. And I keep going with that. Like, you know what? Forget it. And actually the suburb video that I did on YouTube was my best performing video out of all of them. And after I got done recording it, I was like, this is complete garbage. But I just had to go with it and edit the thing and put it through because I was time crunched with everything else. I was behind on schedule. I was like, I got to get this put out on Tuesday because every Tuesday and Friday, that's my posting days. And it was Monday, like in the afternoon when I finished recording that. And I'm like, this video sucks. This is complete trash, but I'm just throwing it out there, whatever. Best performing video on my channel.
Yeah. Well, man, it's so funny that you say that because last year I recorded the video too, and it was about a Facebook strategy, and I had the exact same feeling. I got to the end of the video and I sat there after recording and I was like, that video was pretty much useless. And I'm like, does this actually provide value to anybody, or did I just record it to post? And I sat there and I thought about it for about 30 minutes, and I'm like, you know what, whatever. I've recorded it. It's going up. If it gets no views, I don't care. It's going up. I did it. It's done. Dude, blew up, and it's now got like 25,000 views. It's one of my best videos. And it's so funny.
That's insane.
You know, but there's such a good lesson in what you just shared, and I'm so thankful that you shared it, Anthony, which is so many people will look at different YouTube channels and say, well, they did it with property tours, and I want to do it just like them, or they did it with community tours or market updates or whatever they did, and they're like, I want to do it just like them. But the truth is maybe that's not your calling. Maybe that's not the right fit for you. You might like the idea of doing it, but there might be some different style of content that's a better fit for you and connects better with your target avatar and your audience. And you're missing out on an entire opportunity of identifying what that is by not trying at all. And it's way better to do what you've done, which is say, hey, for the first 3 months, I'm just going to do it all, so that by the end of just 3 months, you can look at the data, analyze what's proven to work, and double down on that, instead of just going all in from the beginning, ignoring these other types of content. And maybe those would have been what blew your channel up or generated the leads, but you ignored it. And you just decided to say from day one, hey, I'm going to just do it all. And very quickly you find out what your niche is, what your highest performing content is. And, you know, the fact that you're just doing it with an iPhone, the fact that you're just taking action is so beautiful. And I love that you're doing it that way, and you can always improve over time. Everybody's always curious about what the content process looks like for you. So most people know by now, if they've been following any of my content, that I prep, I do bullet points, I sit down, I bang it out, hook, intro, bullet points, done. What does it look like for you in terms of your video ideas? Are you recording in your house? Are you going out to the field? Are you doing bullet points? Are you scripting? What does it look like for you? Kind of idea, recording, editing, uploading. What's Anthony's process?
So my process is a little chaotic because I got, 3 little kids. My oldest is only 7. So it can get a little crazy at times, and then trying to, build this business, become that entrepreneur. So mine, it's every Saturday I'm doing some sort of recording. I'm still trying to really, nail down and fine tune hey, this week I am doing nothing but recording. Next week I am doing nothing but, bullet pointing, laying everything out, whatever the case is. But right now I sit down, I got a new month that's coming up. I do market reports just to keep people in the loop. I believe those actually hold a lot of value, especially for agents that want to get into luxury. I feel those are definitely clients that are going to focus more on you if they come across you because you know the numbers. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to sit down and I will lay out my whole next month. Now that I'm going into month 4, I'm going to focus more on those property tours, going around the suburbs. So that'll be a lot more of my content instead of just a pile of everything. But I essentially will even go on Google and just type in, Cleveland real estate, whatever, and it'll fill it out for me. And you can go and look and see exactly what people are searching, your highest searches. And that's where I've gotten a lot of my content from, especially for doing the seller tips, buyer tips. You just go on Google, it'll tell you what people are searching, and there's a video for you. You're done. So I will get those ideas, And then I start mapping out, okay, what are some bullet point topics that I feel I need to talk about? And there's been videos, I'll be honest, that I'm at a loss. I'm like, I got to do something with this video. So I go into ChatGPT and then I start typing in like, hey, I'm creating this YouTube video based off of this. What can you give me as far as like bullet points? Like, list out 5 different reasons why you should move to Cleveland, let's say. And it'll give you everything. You can tell it to script it out. So there are times where I can't do it physically. My brain's just not in it. But I will lay all the bullet points out. And at first I started to just kind of put the bullet points and then go at a talking point in the beginning of YouTube. But now it's more so like, okay, I'm doing bullet points, but I'm also kind of scripting it out in my calendar to an extent. Especially with the intro, because you get 30 seconds basically. You got to hook somebody in 30 seconds to keep them going. And if you don't deliver, you're going to be dead in the water. So I really focus on getting the intro down now. And then I kind of script out everything else just to get a rough idea and just kind of brief over it. And then I'm like, okay, here we go. That's what I'm kind of leaning towards. And then I make it as authentic as possible. So how I am on camera is going to be how I am in person. So I figured, okay, well, if I'm going to talk about a topic, I'm going to talk about a topic as if I would if I'm face to face with somebody. I'm not going to essentially be reading word for word on like a teleprompter sounding like a robot. So I will script it and get everything laid out. After that, that's when I go and I will shoot the video. If I'm doing like, a property tour, obviously I'm going around trying to find out, okay, what is going to be like a pretty good property to highlight in the community. And even if I don't have a listing, I'm sending out text messages to other agents asking like, hey, would you mind if I showcase your listing at 123 Main Street for my YouTube channel and hopefully bring in a buyer for you? Some of them say no, but whatever, okay, they say no, move on to the next one. A lot of them will say yes. It's free advertisement. And, we're coming up into March. So especially the homes that were listed around here, because, you're aware in Canada, it's winter time. There's not a lot of movement in winter when there's snow. Granted, we've been lucky down here where it's not been bad, but it's still winter time. It's still the middle of the school year. So you're limited. And that's my process to get the property tours. And I go out and I'll just film them really quick. I give brief description on the house and then I let the video do its thing for the property tours. I don't talk during it. I throw some music in the background and just let it go and it does its thing. Now when I'm doing tips or things of that sort, I will record at home and do stuff, but I always have B-roll in my back pocket. So whenever I'm driving around, if I see something, I'm like, oh, that looks pretty good. I'm gonna hurry up and shoot that. And it's funny because I got my tripod for my ring light and I just got my phone and I put the phone up there and there I am in my truck, like a tripod standing on like my passenger seat because I don't have a GoPro yet. I haven't bought one. I wanna get one so I don't have to do it. And I'm doing like a ultra zoom in to where you just see out the windshield. It makes it look like a GoPro, but it's actually my phone on a tripod. So I probably look ridiculous driving around, but it's what I gotta do. I just fly solo and just start doing like drive-bys, showcasing the neighborhoods of said suburb, whatever I could do for it. But during the meantime, I'll have my bullet points laid out and key factors for each city that I do, each property, and there's times I'll be filming at home and then it cuts to a B-roll scene or so. And that's my process and it's weekly. It's not something that you can just loosely do. You definitely have to have your calendar in line, everything mapped out. So for me, I'm gonna fine tune it where it's okay, week 1 of the month is gonna be doing all my titles and bullet points and mapping out my whole itinerary coming up. And then I'm gonna get to week 2 is doing all the filming and batch everything. And then, week 3, do like the editing of stuff. And then like essentially just keep doing that process. But right now it's a little chaotic and it's usually every week I'm filming, every week I'm editing. So eventually I'll get it down, but that's my process, and I'll perfect it. It's just going to take some time. It's a little more difficult when there's 3 little rugrats that you got to deal with too.
100%, man. Well, and the thing is as chaotic as it is, you're doing it. It's what you needed to do to take action. And a lot of people are going to, have the excuse of, I've got the 3 little ones and I can't do it. You're saying, come hell or high water, I don't care if it's chaotic or simple, I'm going to do it. And, you touched on 2 other things that I'm really excited to unpack with you, which is editing and calendar. What does the editing look like for you? Are you doing this yourself? Thumbnail photos? What is, what's kind of, we've talked about the preparation, which is the pre-recording. We've talked about the recording. Now let's talk post-recording, editing, thumbnail design. What's Anthony up to?
So right now it is all me. I'm not paying to have it outsourced. That's my goal eventually, is to outsource it and eliminate that much more time. Depending on the video, now that I'm getting further in and actually getting better with YouTube, which it definitely helps if you're going to start a YouTube channel, I would agree with what you were saying. Get vidIQ. It is just a tremendous tool. It's probably the best tool to have for YouTube. And if I didn't have that, I'd definitely be at a loss. But I go through and do all the editing and do all the B-rolls, everything. I signed up for Movavi is what I'm using, and I add all the stuff in. I can typically get it down to, I think the fastest I've ever edited something was around like a half an hour or so, but that's usually like a property tour because it showcases itself. There's not a lot to really cut up. But I mean, I'd say it takes about like an hour. Sometimes it takes like an hour 15 to edit stuff. And like as far as thumbnails go, that's all me. I'm still trying to perfect all that because, I mean, that's the first thing people are seeing is a thumbnail. And there is so much stuff that is out there that tells you, do it this way, do it that way. And you really just got to find what is going to work for you. Keep your branding in point, because I was trying every different thing in the beginning, and I went back through and I'm still tinkering with stuff, trying different color, schemes of that sort to see what's going to stand out the best. But I got it pretty narrowed down, and that's one of the hardest things to do really is make the thumbnail, in all honesty. Editing, super easy. I mean, I'm sure there's other programs that are like Movavi that are just crazy easy to use because there's nothing to it. It's very self-explanatory. You just, cut, paste, do your thing. They got the transitions, all the fun stuff. It's not even that expensive. I think I spent a couple $100 for the year. It was very inexpensive. But the thumbnail, that's a difficult one to figure out because that one I try not to spend more than 15, 20 minutes on it. But there's times where I got to walk away because I'm like, I'm at a loss for this one. I don't know what like picture to put in there. I don't know what I want to title it. And you're trying to explain the video in like 2 to 4 words, 2 to 5 words. You don't want to have it all cluttered. So that's definitely really difficult. And I feel I'm getting better at it, and I'm just going to keep getting better, keep learning about it. I don't know if you've heard, but I know YouTube's getting ready to launch at some point to everybody where you could test out 3 different thumbnails and see how they perform. I can't wait to get that access. That's going to be fantastic because then I could actually, instead of going back changing them and seeing what's going to use it, I could just dish it out at its thing. But yeah, all the editing, the thumbnail, titles, that's all on me. I can't wait to outsource it and just eliminate that burden of things. But yeah, I mean, typically it's around an hour to edit these things. So I mean, it's definitely not like anything too out of hand. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, doing 8 videos, 2 per week, right there on average, that's 8 hours of my time that I can spend building my business or doing something that's going to make me money. Because in the end, yes, YouTube is going to make us money. But the big thing is that people need to realize social media, especially YouTube, instant gratification, you might as well throw that out the window. It's not happening. It is a marathon. It's a long game. It's either you're going to do it or you're not. Don't go halvesies because you got to stay consistent and just know, like, it's going to take a while. And I was surprised to get that first lead within 6 weeks, because everything you've said and what I've heard, it's usually around 10 months. So that came in and I was like, whoa, wasn't expecting this. So, I mean, you figure if it takes 10 months to get your first lead, that right there should be a dead giveaway. Okay, I got to be consistent and I got to better myself every single time I'm putting a video out there. And I will get the leads, but it's going to take time. So that instant gratification, throw it out the window. It's far and few. I mean, you know as well as I do, those are very rare. That's a unicorn that pops up every so often. And it's longevity. It's a marathon. And if you're going in on YouTube, it's either all in or all nothing, because YouTube will not bat an eye if you're not consistent. They kind of just toss you in this small little tight knit of a couple people they're going to push it in front of.
100%, dude. I agree with that. And there's so many things that I love that you said there, but the fact that you didn't wait to be able to be at a point to outsource from day one. You just said, I need to do it, so I'm going to do it whether I have to do it or not. Mm-hmm. And so many people are waiting to say, I'll get started once I can outsource editing or once I can outsource thumbnails. But by that point, somebody like you has gone taking a ton of market share because you're just doing whatever it takes to get it done. But the cool part about your journey is when you go in with the mindset that it might take 10 months and you get a lead within 6 weeks, you're pleasantly surprised. Where a lot of people go wrong is they go in saying, well, if he or she got it in 6 weeks, I'm going to go in expecting 6 weeks. And when you don't get it, you're disappointed. But you just extended that time horizon and said, hey, I know it works. I'm just going to get started. When a lead comes, it comes, because I know eventually it will. And you just did whatever it took to get to that point. So I think that's incredible. And your journey is, one of just ridding all excuses and just doing whatever it takes to commit to the process that has worked for other people. I would really love to dive into calendar, time management, starting as a part-time agent, now 3 little ones, YouTube, spouse, life, ups and downs. What did that journey look like for you getting started as a part-time agent, and what does it kind of look like for you now?
So as a part-time agent, when I first started, I actually got licensed. It was March 5th of 2020. And anybody down here in Ohio or the States, I'm not sure Canada's time frame, but 2 weeks after that, massive COVID shut down. So I went from being extremely ecstatic, excited, happy for myself that I accomplished this, to what am I going to do? Oh my gosh. Oh boy, here we go. What? And so I got my license, and it was at that point of COVID where then at the brokerage I was at, nobody was really wanting to be around each other because nobody knew exactly what was going on with COVID at the time. So I was getting very little information, but I was searching on YouTube, searching on Google, trying to figure out, where do I really begin? How do I really start this? With the conversations that I was having with, my broker and, whoever I could at that past brokerage, of learning, where do I begin? How do I proceed, essentially? Because going through the classes, they basically teach you how to not get sued. They don't teach you time management, how to properly talk to someone, how to lead gen. You don't get any of that. It's basically, this is how you don't get sued. So I was at a loss for a little bit, and I didn't really get any calendar stuff narrowed down. I was kind of told hey, you got to get everything in order, but I wasn't shown how. It was really hard to kind of find a strict time management when I'm working every day from 7 to 3:30, bare minimum in construction, and then having to go home. And then you got, wife and kids at home. Then we're adding a third to the mix on top of that. So my time management was horrendous for a long time. And it was one of those things where I personally became very complacent on the fact that I had a full-time job and I was working part-time real estate. I knew I wanted to make the switch, but I found myself being complacent, like, oh, it's going to come when it comes. It'll happen. I'll eventually grow. And that's simply not the case. I wasted the first couple years of being a part-time agent of not building my brand. So yes, I am approaching, getting into my 4th year now, but it's like I'm not at that year 4 of where I feel I should be. And it is what it is. There's nothing I can do. It's my own doing. It's my own fault. But in the beginning, it was terrible time management. I was just taking leads that the brokerage was giving me, and I was essentially winging it. I did get my first deal by that June. In the beginning of June, I closed, which, that was a godsend. And it wasn't anything spectacular or whatever, but there was somebody that took a chance on me. I'll never forget the guy. He was an amazing guy. The deal went down smooth. The list agent was willing to work with me because I told him flat out, like, hey, this is my first time doing a contract. I'm sorry that this is messed up. And he's like, don't worry about it. He's like, we'll get through it. It'll be fine. And I was like, oh, thank goodness, because I was sweating bullets because he's like, hey, you didn't get this signed. And I was like, oh no, am I going to get sued? Am I going to get in trouble? But I didn't have a sense of direction. And I kept that going for far too long. And it wasn't really until I said, enough is enough. I need to take control of this. If I don't get my calendar in order, if I don't get time management down, it doesn't matter if I'm a part-time agent or a full-time agent, I am going to fail doing real estate. It's not going to happen. It has to be to the T. This is what you're doing, 1 through 10, however you want to list it out. So I started then listing everything out like, okay, I'm going to go to work from 7 to 3:30. If I get a phone call, I was fortunate enough to where I could take a phone call. Some job sites, I shouldn't have been on the phone, but I'm like, I'm more concerned about real estate, to be honest. And then once I got home, I was taking at least an hour and a half to then either call leads that I had to call, do any sort of prospecting that I could do at the time. I wasn't cold calling because that was so fearful, and I don't even know why, because it's no big deal now. But that was a really big issue at that point in time. And then I started to progress from there and say, okay, well, on my breaks, I am going to call from 9:30 to 9:45 for that 15-minute break. I'm going to call and talk to whoever I could talk to, whether it be clients I was working with, or if it was a lead that came in that I got. And then lunchtime, same thing. I had written down, all right, you got 10 minutes to eat your lunch. The other 20 minutes, make some phone calls, do whatever you can, post on social media, build the business. And it got to a point where I kind of kept that going, and I could see stuff growing. I was setting money aside to get ready to make the switch and go through stuff. Obviously, we all saw how bad 23 was. So I still closed some pretty decent deals being part-time and trying to build the business. And it finally just got to a point where I was like, okay, it's one of those things. It's going to be like taking the classes. I just got to dive in, do it. And as soon as I did it, yes, my mindset was kind of at a loss because I was wanting to push that, the social media aspect of things and really perfect everything, even though I know nothing is perfect. I just wanted to make it better. But I had my calendar in order, and it turned into, okay, well, here's what I did part-time. So now that I'm full-time, I'm actually going to list off, I have written down, I wake up at 6 a.m. every morning. I'm getting the kids ready to go, whether I got to take my son to school or take my daughter to school, drop them off at grandma's house, whatever I have to do. And then I have it laid out like, okay, well, 8 to 30-ish, somewhere in there, depending on the day, because every day varies. But, 8:30, I'm mapping out, what am I doing today? Am I making calls for prospecting? Am I doing editing for YouTube? Whatever I'm doing, it's mapped out at 8:30. If I'm making calls, by 9 o'clock, I'm making calls. I'm on the phone, doing whatever I can. If I'm editing, it's almost immediate. There's times I'm like, okay, well, 8:30, map it out. There's times I'm, drinking coffee, eating breakfast, and I'm editing YouTube at the same time. but everything is listed. I have my lunchtime written down now. So half an hour lunch, it's in my calendar. So then I know, and physically writing it and seeing exactly what I'm doing for those times, my brain automatically registers like, hey, look at the clock. What time is it? Oh, I gotta get back to work. It's 12:30. It's time to get back to it. Am I doing my social media right now? Am I continuing calls? So everything that I do is mapped out. Everything's written down. I put it in just a composite notebook. I don't have like a big calendar board. I use Calendly for my like social media content and that type of stuff to keep track of that because it's easier. But as far as my daily routine, I'm just writing it down on a piece of paper every day. Hey, it's, February 28th. This is what I'm doing at this time, this time, this time. And then what I feel works for me is crossing the stuff off. It kind of gives like a sense of accomplishment almost. Just by crossing something off, it's like, all right, I did that. Good job. Way to go. Give that, pat on the back type situation. And I go down the line. If I don't get to something, I don't sweat it anymore. I used to. But it just goes, okay, well, that right there, that's in the forefront of the next day. So I bump it to the next one. But without that, like, strict calendar setup, I honestly don't know how I would be able to do it. Trying to raise 3 kids, trying to do real estate on top of it, trying to keep track of, parties that are going on or, doctor's appointments, whatever the case is. There's times I still, if I don't write it down, I'm like, I don't remember that. And it's like, oh, I didn't put it in my calendar. Crap. And I'm at a loss. But I mean, that thing is like almost like a bloodline for us, I feel. Without that, I honestly don't know how people are making it. And from what I've seen, any of the big top producers, they're not just winging it. They have a strict calendar of what they are doing on a daily basis. Even if they're not doing anything, I'm sure they have it written down like, hey, 4 hours of freedom. Here we go. I think everybody just needs to do that, whether you're part-time, full-time. If you don't, you're going to be left behind.
100%. Well, and I think that's the perfect answer to your statement of, if people aren't using their calendar, I don't know how they're doing it. The truth is they're not doing it. It's the 87% that aren't using their calendar that fail. And yeah. It's those simple things of, just living by the principle, if it's not in your calendar, it doesn't exist. Just putting it in your calendar, holding yourself accountable and being disciplined with what you put in there. It's those simple things that sound so obvious, sound so simple, but to actually do it religiously and stay committed to it is a completely different ballgame. But that's such a small shift that makes such a life-changing difference. And it's amazing that you've done that. And, I'd love to know your take on the ups and the downs. You talked about 2023 wasn't a great year for many people. 2024 is still not looking like a great year for many people. And so, you've been through these phases of enough is enough. I'm sick of construction. I've had it. I'm going to make a difference. Sales years that aren't ideal. Interest rates out of control, election year. There's all these ups and downs in the economy, in the climate, and the environment. How do you stay how are you staying on track? How are you staying on top of your things and just saying there's clarity amongst the chaos? And I'm just going to keep doing what I know I need to be doing. How are you navigating the uncertainty that we all have to deal with on this journey?
Well, I'll start off by saying that don't listen to everything that you hear out there. Cancel out the noise. Don't worry about interest rates. Don't worry about what the market's doing. Don't worry about any of that stuff. It doesn't matter. No matter what, Ricky Carruth says it best. Closings happen every day. And that kind of helped me correct that side of things, because I was one that was always like, oh, these interest rates are terrible, they're skyrocketing, nobody's gonna buy, nobody's gonna sell. But at the end of the day, closings are still happening. People still need to sell homes. It's, the lawsuits that are going on, who cares? I don't pay attention to them, because no matter what it does, it's not going to change what I do. However, early on, it wasn't like that. I would see the interest rates. I would see the house prices skyrocketing. I would see all this stuff and I'm like, oh, how am I going to do this? What am I going to do? Nobody's going to want to sell. Nobody's going to want to buy, do this. And it was like, it would come in waves. You would get that motion where you would go down that rabbit hole and you would just get depressed. You would be at a loss, like, oh, I'm not going to do anything. I've even had it in my mind, like, oh, I'm a younger agent. I can't compete with these other agents in my market because we got some big time agents that are down here. And it's like, I can't compete with them. They're going to take all the market share. As soon as I was doing that, I was dead in the water. As soon as I said that to myself, I was setting myself up for failure every single time. And then a couple deals would happen and it's like, oh, here we go. All right, I'm excited. I'm back on it. And then it would slow down again. And instead of looking at it like, okay, I'm a part-time agent, not doing what I need to do as a part-time agent, so why would I expect all these results? So once I kind of retooled that and kind of got that squared away, then I started to see like the capability of things. And towards the end of 23, it's kind of the same situation. I was like, I'm doing everything right, but nobody's pulling the trigger. And instead of saying, you know what, they're going to come, it's going to happen, don't worry about it, I was asking myself, why aren't these like clients of mine buying? Why don't they want to, put an offer in? This house suits them. It was always negative, negative, negative. And then once I ended up getting my mindset corrected from, you and Connor, and changing everything. I mean, my whole life has changed since I corrected my mindset. And I look at stuff like, who cares what other people think? Who cares what is going on in the world? I honestly don't even pay attention to the news at all. I couldn't even tell you news stories that are happening. Like obviously you hear like, major stories like with Israel and Palestine over there, things of that sort. You're going to hear about that, but I'm not paying attention to the news. I don't care when the Fed is dropping the interest rates, because at the end of the day, I'm here to help people buy and sell real estate. That's my job. Make sure it goes as smooth as possible and do what I have to do. But, those downs, they're really bad. And it got to a point where I was actually contemplating like, well, maybe I should leave real estate and just become like a contractor for electrical and just run my own stuff, because I wanted to be a boss in my like own way. And I'm glad I didn't, and I kept pushing through. But it wasn't until I completely eliminated the negativity all around in my life and started saying, it's okay. If I'm cold calling and somebody hangs up on me, I laugh it off. And I'm like, all right, next, like whatever. I don't care. Where before I was like, what did I do wrong? And it was always like, why? What am I doing? How could I do it? Like, and it just kept bringing me down. So everything changed, eliminated all of it and said, this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm changing my life. This is how I'm going about stuff, and getting in that mindset of I can do this, and I am not going to be like, a Mike Sherrard. I am not going to be like Connor. I am not going to be like, whoever is out there for a top agent. There's tons of them. I said, I am going to be Anthony Esposito. I am going to do me. I'm going to pay attention to what my clients need. And if someone doesn't want to work with me, so be it. If they unsubscribe from my CRM emails, whatever. Okay, I'm going to focus on the other 30% that want to work with me, not the 70 that doesn't. And it really was correcting that mindset of things and essentially telling my brain, like, hey, you can do this. Just keep going forward. It's okay. Stop worrying. Everything's going to be just fine. And it wasn't until that point until I fully felt almost like a light come shine down on me, like, hey, you got this. Don't worry. Here we go. Let's get after it. And I didn't have that for a long time, probably almost 3 years of real estate. It was a constant roller coaster. And then now that I got my mindset corrected, I am just pushing everything, and it has just been, constant up even with all the negativity that's happening with, oh, we don't know when we're going to drop the interest rates down here in the States. And now they're projecting even longer. And I'm just like, okay, so who cares? You ready to buy or sell? Do you need an agent to help you? Here I am.
Well, exactly. It's like at the end of the day, you said it so perfectly. Don't worry or stress over what you can't control. Like worrying over when interest rates are going to drop, you have zero control over that. So why get all in a flap and get all overworked and wound up over something that you have zero control over? You're just taking yourself and your mindset away from doing the things you need to be doing. So it's such a powerful conversation, man, and I'm so glad the things that you unpacked. The last thing that I always like to ask is that, you and I are partners. People now get to align with the both of us. I'd love for you to just quickly touch on, what kind of sealed the deal for you in terms of making the transition over here, and what can people expect when aligning with the both of us, especially you?
I mean, honestly, what sealed the deal was you breaking down exactly how EXP works and what the Wolfpack has to offer. Because I saw the original video of what EXP is, and it seems like a pyramid scheme. It really does, because it doesn't go into depth and really like they did a great job creating it, but it's like you need to do a little bit more, like elaborate a little bit more. And you did that in 30 minutes. You did that on a Zoom call. And just of how excited you were, and the fact of me like having a sense like I knew you just from watching you on YouTube. Like I didn't think you were trying to, just scam me, essentially. I was like, no, this is actually legit. Like, holy cow, what am I been waiting for? Like what am I waiting for Christmas next year? Like just do it. And I just said, all right, enough is enough. I want to get on YouTube. So why not join with a group that is very modern real estate based, has one of the best people you can have training you on YouTube, and has one of the best people that you could have training you with mindset of things. It's like this home run. Why not? So I'm like, I'm going with it. There's almost 3,000 of us, over 3,000 agents in the Wolfpack. And every single one of us are always like, hey, great job, excellent. We're here to support you, to help you out. It's not, trying to take over market share from other people. So that really drove me to just be like, you know what? There's a family that's over here. They're in the same mindset that I want to be in. They're pushing modern real estate, which I want to do further. So I'm just going to do it. I'm going to join it, and I'm going to better my life, my family's life, and I'm just going to be where I want to be. No more of, sitting back waiting for things to happen. I am going to make it happen. Like I'm like you, Mike. I'm a big car guy. There's a lot of cars that I want to buy. I can't do that on a construction salary. So I was like, I got to do something to make some money and help people out, whether it be other agents, whether it be people trying to buy and sell real estate. I got to get, full force into this. And at the end of the day, I don't really know personally of other brokerages that give you multiple streams of income, and one of which is production. The other two, you're not doing anything besides producing and helping other agents. So it was kind of a no-brainer, because really, in order to build wealth, you need to have multiple rivers go into your pond. One is not going to do it. And that's what drove me into doing it. And I honestly do not regret anything that I have decided to do since I came here. And it's really been a blessing this whole time. And I'm seeing everything just come through now. It's like 3 months in, and everything is picking up. Social media is picking up. Business is getting better. Like I said, my mindset was corrected, which corrected everything in my life, not just with real estate. So it's literally been a blessing, and I'm so glad that I ended up pulling that trigger, because I was hesitant for a while. I was debating joining the Wolfpack for like a good 2 years, and I'm like, no. And now I'm like, that's the only regret I have, is I didn't do it sooner, quite honestly.
That's incredible, dude. Well, and again, it means the world to me to hear that. And I'm so grateful and blessed to be partners with you on this, just to see that, you're somebody that takes massive action. And like you said, you change your mind, you change your life. And so many people are looking for, the YouTube strategies. But the truth is whether you're looking at YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, you can get the strategies you want anytime. But if you don't change your mindset, none of it's going to come to life. You're never going to take action on it. And so it's been amazing to see the father you've become, the spouse that you become for your family, the role model, the impact that you're making, and the fact that you and I now get to partner with people together to change their lives and pass that torch to the next person that's maybe struggling with their mindset or their production and help them go to that next level is absolutely incredible. So Anthony, again, man, thank you so much for coming on today. I'm going to make sure to link all of your incredible content below. Guys, you want to make sure to check that out, because if you couldn't tell, he's not stopping anytime soon. So thank you again, brother, for coming on today.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it, bud.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys. Make sure to go check it out. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.